As we come back into our breath, allowing yourself to just sense and feel your body, your energetic sphere of energy, and connecting with your 12th dimensional ray band of energy around you that is your Christ consciousness that you are, that you exist as, and that you be. It's our aspect of ourself that is creating a vehicle of moving throughout the universe, that we're actually, even though we're here on planet Earth, we're all kind of traveling all over the universe. And so for all of you that are having the experiences of actually getting more conscious time on the ships or with some of the other planetary or beings that live here on beautiful Earth with us, you know, it's really about us being in our true field, our true kind of Christic awareness that gives us a level of discernment that no matter where we go and what we do, even if we are on a ship, even if we are, you know, moving multidimensionally into levels of consciousness that are not always easy to discern from our language of Earth, that we know that this field is actually creating a buffer zone and a resonance around us that is making a loud statement to all multidimensional beings that you are proclaiming to live and to be and to only interact with that which is in divine right order and within cosmic law. That you are actually proclaiming that you operate within the source codes and that you are choosing eternal light. And so as we hold that, we're going to realize more and more as we do have these experiences that are on other planetary spheres or being pulled up into the ships, that they know exactly where we are. They know our energy fields and our signatures so much better, be it through instrumentation or however they track us or however that we have maintained connection, that we know without a doubt that as we incarnated here, even if we've been here multiple incarnation cycles, we do have guardians and guides who have been keeping an eye on us from the higher dimensional spheres and planes of existence. They may not always be able to reach down and have physical contact with us or have easy communication with us because many times there is distortions, there is the frequency nets and different things like that. Think about our levels of consciousness that even create even more distortion within our field. And as we've been clearing that out, we're actually clearing out our channels of communication so that they can have access to us and be like, hey, oh, great, I have you online now. Let's talk. Let's reassess, you know, let's look at some of the different systems. Let's really talk about how we can work together and really reinstate what is really going to be kind of referred to as we go through this galactic series is our bioregenesis. And bioregenesis is something that has been going on for a really long time throughout the universe. And as we start to look at some of the dates within there, we're going to actually see that the distortion and the negativity that we think is so horrible in the universe, and it is quite dark and it is quite painful, but this darkness, this fall of consciousness, if you will, that we are experiencing right now is actually a very minute part of the entire existence of creation. That within our entire 15-dimensional time matrix, and again, I will be explaining all of this in a lot of detail, but within our universal sphere and our existence, that it hasn't been the entire time that we've been at war and that planetary spheres have been experiencing distortion and battles and races trying to take over races. We're looking at an existence timeline of like 950 billion years. And it's only been, I know it's still going to sound like a really long time, but it's only been in the last 250 billion years that there's been the beginnings of this distortion, what we might call the the wars in Lyra. And as we start to think of the seed nation, of where the seed beings have been, you know, where we were seated in the Lyra cradle, this is where a lot of the distortions in the battle started. And as we actually look at it, we can realize that our universe has been in a state of peace for like 700 billion years. So a really long time. And so this is not the natural state of being. It has progressively gotten worse and spread. And now this sphere in this dimensional kind of solar system where we're living is kind of the final battleground where a lot of this is going on. And if I could just, in this very moment, just state that part of our original mission as some of the higher vibrational angelic races, some of our original mission of creating this human body was to create a vehicle that could hold the coding of the 12-strand Christic race, the 12-strand Christic body of light that could actually rehabilitate and return to God's source light. And so this was specifically designed as a vehicle to not only help rehabilitate, so a bioregenesis vehicle. So it has the ability to heal karma, to clean up timelines, and to help us as different races and species be able to incarnate into these bodies and to allow the reinstating and the reactivation of the 12 strands of our DNA in order to rise our consciousness all the way back into the Christic avatar God level that transcends all of the shadow and all of the darkness. So it's, in essence, think of it almost as a way that when we can activate this vehicle, that it animates itself within like the most powerful magnet in all the universe, that has the most magnificent draw, that wants to return all the way to God's source light. So once we activate strand by strand by strand by strand, that we realize that there's the double helix and the strand in there. And once the third strand is activated, that each strand is actually starting to elevate one's ability to tap into the different dimensional spheres. And most of the DNA strands within our body are what we would call etherical, are not something that a doctor might tangibly see. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of doctors that are actually starting to see beings being born with more than 2 strands of DNA, which is really pretty phenomenal. So this is the powerful thing. Yes, it was chaotic. Yes, there has been different falls within our history. And I want to just lay up today what we're going to be going through over the next 8-9 weeks of doing this. But we chose it. We actually chose to come in as a Christos kind of restoration mission, that we could come in and that we could, each time we incarnated, actually bring higher levels of DNA and hold strands of information that would help to activate the bodies back again. So this has really kind of been what the whole battle has been about here on Earth, that we do see it a bit as territory, but within our universal matrix, there is a fallen matrix that we would call a parallel matrix, that we might call, when you hear Kimberly say the dark sun, or the portal behind the black portal behind the sun, that there is what is called a fallen matrix, the Wiesedack system. Part of this is coming from the split that took place, and part of the codes went there and part of the codes stayed here. And we are the living organism, we are the living universe. And this universe over here has been dying, but they've had access to actually reach in. So a lot of the nefarious beings we've been dealing with are actually coming from a parallel system. And they come in order to siphon, to pull, and to feed off of this time matrix, because they have no living light and no spark and no access back to God's source light. So therefore, they've literally been trying to feed off of this system. And if I could paint this kind of system, it's a little bit bigger than the Milky Way system, but it's almost as if you look at the galaxy, that this fallen matrix is actually trying to suck in and absorb an entire spiral in the Milky Way galaxy, as if they're just trying to suck in the light so they can live. Now, they don't give a shit about anybody else, right? Because they literally are dead light energy. I love how Kimberly calls them the non-repairable humans, but they don't have access. I'm going to say it this way, we, through our many incarnations and through our different embodiments of ourselves in the multi-dimensional sphere, so in our different bodies, our soul body, our oversoul body, our Christic body, our different avatars that we have been trying in any way possible to help these beings rehabilitate. We have created ways in which they can incarnate and choose God's source light again. And again, this is, I bringing this back again to something Kimberly said, which was they got the offer, they got the choice, and they said no. Now, I'm going to tell you, she's saying this, which is telling me this is just another time that they were been offered this, but they have been offered this choice multiple times in the many thousands and thousands and millions of years as options to actually rehabilitate themselves and move back into God's source light. But the reason they do not choose is because they're very arrogant and they're very power hungry. And so this feeds really well into an example of the story about Max and her sharing about her childhood and growing up. She says these beings were the most influential, powerful people on the planet. She grew up in every country. The family she was born into was a diplomatic family in Italy. She actually has the most detailed information of the tunnels underneath the Vatican than I've heard anybody talk about. But she says on the outside, tailored clothes, boarding schools, chauffeurs. But every country she went to, same thing. It's the presidents, it's the higher ups, it's all the people that are making the decisions, it's the actors, it's all of the high echelon people. But in the underground, that's who they become. Once they are out of the public eye, they are the black sun people. They are the ones from the parallel systems who are here to just siphon and feed off of the life force. And in that, to remember, they are power hungry, they're evil, and they are very egotistical and arrogant. They think they're everything and that everything else is just stupid or ignorant and has nothing for them to be concerned about. So therefore, it's a way for us to start to put into perspective when we talk about these esoteric things. These are actual people, these are actual beings, these are actual races, these are actual different hybrids that have been living within different star systems and also parallel universes that have been inflicting a lot of the trauma that we've been dealing with. And our job a lot of times on this planet, and I say this for all of you that have connection to the spirit realm, it's not fun, but these are the realms we got to clean. We got to close the portals. A lot of it has been closing the negative portals, the portals where they've been getting in. Close the portals and how they're getting in here. Clear out the astral realm. Send everything back to where it belongs or to God's source light. So as we clear all of these realms, they're not having access points back into us. That's why I freaking lit up, because behind the sun this is the black sun, the the group that goes by the Black Sun, that has been actually ruling most of the stuff that we think is in power on this planet, is actually being ruled from not even this planet, and not even, I would say, this universe. And so when she made the comment that the black portal behind the sun had got shut down, I lit up. I lit up, you guys, because this is literally the access point. We need to heal a lot of these rips and tears within the fabric of the universe. And these portals, these black holes and these portals are created through explosions of stars, destructions of planets. So say when Maldek, got exploded, it causes disruption throughout the universe. Not much different than if a huge tsunami or an earthquake happens. You can feel it, and it'll actually shift the warble and the pulse of the earth for a while. And that's tiny compared to some of these other things. So a lot of these wormholes have actually been created purposefully by blowing up stars, by blowing up different heavenly bodies, in order to create a black hole that creates a suction into a reversal world. And the ability for this portal to be closed is actually probably one of the most monumental things that we are experiencing right now, just because it is going to seal off the ability for more of the infiltration to be coming in. And our job, that's where that job of clearing what is on the planet already out is all about. So I'm actually going to share a little bit of something here just to give you guys a visual, and then I want to end with just a nice meditation for us this evening. So, right. So what I'd like to do is just start to give a little bit of a precursor to some of this concepts that we will be working with, because first of all, we have to start to understand how some of the levels of our soul work, how some of these different spheres of consciousness operate. So especially when we can think of when one is on a ship and all of the experiences that people are reiterating, like the one we just heard, of needing a belt or needing something to help acclimate ourselves to the different atmosphere or the different way the energy vibrates within the higher dimensional fields, we can start to really understand that this is all, we're all existing within the same universe, but at different dimensional spectrums of being. Therefore, the beings that exist within, say, the fourth harmonic universe of our Christ avatar God self, or even the third harmonic universe with our monad or our oversoul, these beings are going to seem very like light beings or ethereal. They're going to seem as though they don't actually have a body. But once we actually start to amplify our frequency and the way we vibrate, we're going to actually have more of a perception of their form. Mainly because we will start to be able to sense and perceive from higher resonances and frequencies. Again, remembering there is a lot of things in the air all around us right now, right where you're sitting. You have infrared kind of lights and all of these different like frequencies of color bands and spectrums and radio things and television things that are in the air. We're just not attuned to them. And there comes a time where we get to oscillate at a speed that allows our perception to be able to just feel more comfortable in those realms. And so the bright light that we generally see in a lot of these realms is going to be something we're going to acclimate to more. And it's not just going to be like this field of white light or this field of bright that we're in anymore, and we're going to have a better perception of the other consciousness and the other beings that are in those places. So this is just something I wanted to put together, that our soul is the field that actually holds our consciousness. So soul is actually something that is created as a container from our avatar God self realm, as it starts to step itself down into lower stations of identity. And you could think of each time we step down, say from purple to green to yellow to red, that we're coming into a narrower and narrower, more condensed realm of being. Whereas within the Rishi God world, it is holding the all of all creation within it. And then we start to go into more precise experiences within each of the realms. And as we step down, you can see that here in a human body, in the body that you're in, you don't have universal perception and consciousness with you, because you're having a microscopic experience from your human identity experience of the reality you have around you. So you're having an experience of whatever state you're in, whatever things are going on with the world around you, whatever the weather is like. It is like a very fine-tuned aspect of just this world around you in your environment where you're in. But your entire soul is still embodied throughout the entire 15-dimensional time matrix. So this is where we start to get to understand, what does it mean when we surrender to our higher self? What are we doing when we surrender to our soul, or better yet, surrendering to our monad and our oversoul? And so as we get more of this perspective, we're going to realize that when we think of the God source realm, I liked this image because it's really kind of showing that if we got such a Rishik God world perspective of the world or of the universe, galaxies would just look like little cells floating around in a big body. That's how many of them there are. And as we can sense and feel what the Rishik God worlds are within us, that they are actually the original sound tones and frequencies that emanated from the next higher heaven, if you will, or the next time matrix above us. And so we're talking about the base of that being dimensions 16, 17, and 18. So 16, 17, and 18 would be kind of like dimensions 1, 2, and 3 in our time matrix, but dimensions 16, 17, and 18 is just how we're plugged in to the next harmonic universe above us. And as we rise our awareness that there is going to be much, much more of a perception to these Rishik God worlds of which we are birthed. And this is how universes birth universes, birth universes, birth universes. And so here we are on planet Earth, and we're barely starting to expand our reality that there's other stuff going on in our solar system, let alone all of these different other constellations, and realizing we're just even one reality that's within many, many within the God realms. Now, here's the amazing thing to kind of sense and see from this, that when the universe actually is expanded like this into an experience, that as we expand out, we could almost see ourselves expanding out as these galaxies and as these stars and as these worlds, and that it just goes smaller and smaller and smaller. So from a galaxy, it would start to maybe break down into a smaller version would be a sun, and a smaller version would be a planet, and a smaller version would eventually become a being, like one of us in these bipedal humanoid body forms, whatever kind of body form. Maybe it's an Arcturian body form, maybe it's a Pleiadian, maybe it's an Andromedan, depending on which constellation we're in, right? But even that is stepping way down. And that within these bodies, that it is our consciousness that allows us to still maintain a level of connection all the way back to the original source field. Now, we are in a fallen system right now, and we are here to be the bioregenesis that rehabilitates it. But I want to let each and every one of you know that our physical bodies were designed to also be able to connect all the way back to God's source light, so that there is no level of forgetfulness. There is no level of not being connected. There is no level of not remembering who we are. And in truth, our bodies are meant to have the luminescent ability within it. So as we have stepped down, that we can just realize that the closer and closer you get to the galactic core, the higher your vibrational constitution is. You just start to oscillate and vibrate at higher levels of frequency, which then allow you to hold larger frequencies of light. So this is one of the things I want to share with you here, and I'm going to have to actually change some of the things on here, but I'm going to go into a couple of slides that are going to start to show you how vast you are, and that within even just the first few harmonic universes, there's like 144,000 of you. So if we think of our oversoul, and I want to again just kind of go back here and remember, just this green sphere is the oversoul. It's not even going all the way back to the avatar God self. So the avatar God self expresses itself, and then we start to step down from pre-matter form into what we would know as souls. So this is where kind of the birth and the body of our soul field and our container starts to get created to help hold our packets of consciousness. And as we come into the monad or the oversoul actually, as it steps down, has 12 expressions of it. And each of these 12 expressions actually is now in the soul field. So within your soul family, I'm going to go back here. Within your soul family, so here's your oversoul, and 12 expressions of your oversoul get birthed as souls. So there's actually 12 soul spheres that are birthed from the oversoul. And of those 12 spheres of soul, when they step down into realms of you, they step down into 12 incarnate identities of you. So this is where the parallel lives, the past lives, and all the things that we start to think about start to get pretty kind of intense and interesting. So if you think about this again as your oversoul, and I wanted to put a shape in here for you to actually understand that this shape right here actually has 12 sides to it. So it's actually radiating like a fractal of 12 expressions, kind of like a prism. Like when you hang one of those rainbow crystals in your window and the sun shines through it, and then all the rainbows start to go all around your room. That's how we are a holographic expression throughout the universe. The divine light is shining through the crystalline form of our monad, our oversoul, our avatar God self, and then it expresses into all of these oversouls here. So there's 12 of these fractals that come out from here. And then each of these oversouls pushes out and has an array expansion of 12 souls. And you could imagine trying to then put all the incarnate identities in here. So I put it over here, and each soul then has 12 incarnate identities or yous. And so here's when you are meditating, here's you. And there's 12 aspects of you that are existing. And this is where, again, sometimes we will have experiences of seeing ourselves in another life or a parallel life or something else that's happening. Not every single one of you is in a human body. You might be in a different body. You might be in a body on another planet, in another sphere. So this is also how we're tapping into some of our other avatars and identity selves. Every single us that expresses from soul is actually having the intention to have a perception, an experience, but also to, in the out breath, this would be the all the way exhale, that you live as you, but that your job then is to light your magnet back up so that you actually reconnect with your soul. And as your soul, you reconnect with your oversoul. And as your oversoul, you reconnect with your monad body, your Christic God, avatar God self, which from this sphere has direct connection to the God worlds and the higher heavens above it. So here's you as an experience. And as we sit and when we do our declaration of intention, I just want to say that this is part of what we're doing. I declare from the core of my heart, my intention is to serve my source. Well, source, I would say the avatar God self is the source to align to. because even within some of these spheres, we have had some distortions. So when we even connect with our soul, and why we call it our soul family, because here's you as part of 12, but those 12 are now in the soul, but now this entire, all 12 of these souls is part of your oversoul family. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that for right now, just because it can be entirely mind-boggling to actually think about it, that as you return higher and higher in consciousness, this is how collective consciousness starts to work. So as you look at it, an entire soul family, and you reemerge with your oversoul, who are you? You are all of it, right? That is where the telepathy and that unified connection and that working together. So as we're talking about a lot of this stuff, even within the soul, the oversoul field, this green spheres around here, this is a lot of times we're say even the Arcturian level. So when we're talking and connecting with 7th dimensional beings, 8th dimensional beings, and 9th dimensional beings, we were probably connecting with oversoul aspects of ourself or oversoul families. And remember, they tend to communicate with us in a language of we. They don't usually say I, they usually say we, because it is a collective as a way of thinking. And so we could think of the soul. So this green sphere would be kind of like what we would call the archangel realm, if you will. And then the soul family, more of the angelic realm, even if you wanted to look at it this way. And as you look at this, this is really stepping into 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional perspectives in here. So if you are connecting with Venusians, if you are connecting with Pleiadians, if you are connecting with some of the other different beings, the Alpha Centauris, or any of these other beings in the universe, they're probably coming from the soul field and the soul family. So when you think about who's coming to chat with you when they come and check on you in the ship, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably your soul field. Your soul field and your family is keeping an eye on you and checking out on you, because they are at a density level where they can still interact with the first harmonic universe, with our physical bodies and where we are. Once you start to get to the oversoul level, those beings don't have really the ability to have direct contact with our physical forms. That's why there's a lot of intermediary, if you will, or the soul level beings that are actually interacting with us. And as we begin to realize that we are actually a part of the entire sphere. So if you are being contacted by some of these beings on some of these ships in a mind-bending kind of way, some of them may be you from an oversoul or an avatar perspective. Just parts of ourselves interacting with ourselves, because again, when we start to get to the God realms, we realize that the mind of the all is the all, and we are just living and experiencing within it as ourself, as the all. But as a human incarnate, we are just a particle of the all. It's still incorrect, but somewhat perceivable. And as we exist within this entire 12-dimensional matrix, so I wanted to just again reiterate, notice how everything steps down in 12 into another packet of 12 into another packet of 12. 12 is a very significant number. It is how we hold our Kathara grid and our sphere of existence. And as we sit and realize this, that inside your physical body, you have access points to each of the dimensional spheres, all the way to the Christic God self. And from there, again, we have full dimensional access to the founder flames, of which we will talk about a little bit more. And that this actually leads us to connection points within the different places within our galaxy and in a actual broader sphere of our galaxy. Because when you think of the galaxy, we live in the Milky Way galaxy, but we are connected with the Pleiades system. We are connected with the Orion system, the Andromeda system, the Lyran system, the Arcturian system. We are connected with all of these different other systems that we would think of as our zodiac and our field, but really they're our larger body. What I want to get to throughout time is to be able to share with you these 12 patterns. Just keep going and keep going and keep going. You have this 12 tree grid right over your body. And then this 12-tree grid fits over the planet. And this 12-tree grid then fits over the Milky Way system. Then it fits over the entire 12th dimensional time matrix of which we are a part of. And Lyra, or Aramatena, is actually the 12th sphere. So again, it is the cradle of Lyra, which is the original seeding place for this 15-dimensional time matrix where we exist. Is Lyra all there is? Is this where all of the infinite got created? Absolutely not. This is just the seeding place from the higher dimensional time matrices before then. But I would say it's really important for us to just first of all figure out our own time matrix, which actually goes back really far. So again, we're looking at the seeding of Lyra about 950 billion years ago, 8 or 900 billion years ago, as it created this entire sphere. Now, here's the thing I want to kind of touch on, which is really, really cool. And I'm going to come back to some of these. So this, again, it shows us our 12-tree grid. You have one in this incarnate body. It goes up into your soul level. You have another one that flips open bigger into the monad body and even bigger into the avatar body. And I will get into some of our founder races and the different beings that were created. But here's what I wanted to kind of share, just to kind of bring just today to a close. The stream of God consciousness enters in through the 8th dimensional portal and then moves up and down through all the dimensional fields of the 15-dimensional time matrix. Therefore, our incarnate identity, so the you that you are in this first harmonic universe, is one part of a large identity gestalt stationed in the higher bodies. So in this very moment, as we begin to just start to even understand how we're connected to all of our other avatar God selves, as we start to understand that the higher in consciousness we go, the more we have to lose ourself. And what we mean by lose ourself is lose your egoic identity. Now, your egoic identity is a beautiful gift within this reality, but as we go into higher stations of consciousness, our I becomes a we. We become part of our soul group, which is just part of a larger body of consciousness. And consciousness doesn't necessarily fit in a body. Consciousness is a field of energy that holds within it the unified fields of the entire stream of God consciousness that is coming from the higher dimensional spheres. And this is really powerful for us to understand as you go into these journeys and you are connecting. Connect from your heart. And here's why I say this. It is saying here that the God stream of consciousness enters in through the 8th dimensional portal and then moves up and down through all the dimensional fields of the 15-dimensional time matrix. Your 8th chakra is called your higher heart. It is the one, when we meditate, that it is right above your heart, near your thymus. And as we breathe into this, that this is the heart, again, it's called the higher heart. This is the higher heart coming from our oversoul identity. So again, our oversoul is an entire gestalt or consciousness field that holds within it a cloud of consciousness that we would call we. Do we still have physical bodies in that realm? We sure can. Again, we're looking at Andromedan, Arcturian, multiple different races and species who are existing within this oversoul level of existence. So how is it that we're stepping down this levels of consciousness? And this is also going to start to answer for us why they're even concerned or connected with us, because they are we. We are just a different vehicle. and they're just utilizing a different vehicle that just has an ability to acclimate and work within a different frequency. So you've been that too, and you are that too, and you're existing there too. And you're just using a different body to do it, because a human body would probably not be able to handle that atmosphere. That's why they use technology to help acclimate our actual bodies when they take us to these other dimensional spheres and places, because our body isn't acclimated to it and it can't handle it. Those bodies are, those bodies can, they're just existing. So now when we think of Oversoul and we think of these places, we can actually start to go like, oh, they're actual races, they're actual places, and they are actual beings. Now, they are connected in through the 8th dimensional portal, which is our heart. And as we realize this interconnectedness, you can realize that interconnectedness means that at that particular level, you start to actually have an awareness that the entire universe is your body. So if there is discord in some of the lower harmonic universes, you want to help alleviate and to balance any discord in your body to help bring health, vitality, wholeness, and back into living light energy. Your body, you want healthiness within it. Our entire universe is just our larger body. It's just really hard and so expansive for us as a human to try to even conceptualize that. But it truly is, as we start to rise our consciousness, and within the Christos consciousness fields, this is where we exist in pre-matter form. So we are living as this liquid light in the living essence of the universe. Now, within here, your 8th chakra, again, is right here. It's above your heart. It is one of the morphogenetic chakras, so it is called the higher heart because it is the chakras that deal with the harmonic universe above it, the oversoul harmonic universe. And it is right here in the heart. Now, I want to show, oops, this diagram. Come on, baby. Right here within our Cathara grid and our 12-tree grid, of which we are, it is our original blueprint. When we talk about blueprint, this is actually the blueprint we're trying to reinstate. All of these channels and all of these spheres, we're trying to reconnect them and reinstate them back again. Each of these spheres is the gateways into different dimensional portals that connect to the other galactic stargates and portals and things like that. If you look at the 8th sphere, this is where Gaia exists. So within the 3rd harmonic universe, it would be Earth in that 3rd harmonic universe expression as Gaia. And that actually is a really powerful kind of thing to be able to tune to. But the 8th dimensional sphere is connected with Orion. Now, Orion has a lot of bad rap within it because we think of the Orion Wars and the different beings that have come from Orion. But let me show you this. And if you've ever read any of Anton Park's books, this was a profound kind of aha moment for me personally. This image that I have right here, which actually kind of looks like a heart, doesn't it? It is the Orion Nebula. It is known to be one of the powerful kind of creation places where some of the the highest amount of stars and creation is happening within our known universal area. So within the 15-dimensional time matrix right now. So it's saying right here, the stream of God consciousness enters in through the 8th dimensional portal. You're looking at the Orion Nebula right now, which is the 8th dimensional portal. Within the Anton Park's books, I thought it was really profound in how he remembered it, which is that within the Orion Nebula, it was such a mesmerizing place and a thing for them to realize that they actually tried to study it, but trying to go through it actually distorted their codes and it distorted their DNA. And this is where a lot of the reversal actually started, was mainly through our curiosity of trying to go back in through the outdoor, if you will. And within this, we can actually realize that here is the heart. This is in so many ways the higher heart. And if you were to think of the primary Stargate that was initially taken over within our 15-dimensional time matrix, which one do you think they tried to take over first? The Orion 8th Stargate. When you are manipulated, when things are happening in your life, what do they play on for you? What do they try to disconnect from you? What is trying to be distorted within your reality? And I would say that would be the heart, to be disconnected from the heart. There's entire therapies out there that are all about just helping people remove heart walls and heart blocks and blocking our heart because our heart got hurt and we don't want to feel the pain anymore. And so we can sit and remember the message of the beautiful woman, Max, who shared her story of everything she went through in this life. And that no matter what, the one thing she did keep open was her heart. She never lost her connection to source. She never lost her connection to feeling the love within her heart. We've lived millennia of years in this reality where the number one thing they have tried to separate us from is our connection to source and our connection in our heart. And I would say to each and every one of you, that is our most important rehabilitation for ourselves, is to reinstate our heart, to reactivate our heart, to let go of the past, to let go of the wounds, everything that has ever harmed us in the past, everything that has caused us to want to go into isolation, shut the rest of the world down, close down our heart, not open ourselves up, whatever has created fear in our life. It is our time to stand up and say no, and that we are going to learn who these beings are, how our distortions got created, and realize that in all of it, they're boring. They're just boring. And that we've really just been buying into the fear. But when we reconnect with the totality of who we are, our soul, our oversoul, our Christ Avatar God self, remembering that the entire cosmos is our body, we are going to realize that our heart is the key for everything. The heart is where God enters us. The heart is where it all enters us. It's our higher heart. And from our higher heart, we are able to fully connect all the way back to God's source light. So I'm just going to end there. I do apologize. I did go a little bit over on that for this evening. And I just want to ask each and every one of you to just let yourself be with the higher heart. That from your heart, you can imagine, sense, and feel it as your command center. And as it's your command center, that you get to sit in there like these crystalline spaceships. And let's learn to communicate from our heart, to feel from our heart again. Let's be so courageous that we're willing to love so much, even if it hurts, even if it's scary, even if it feels uncertain. That our heart truly is the only thing that truly has the most power in this entire 15-dimensional time matrix. And they have no power to touch it. And it infuriates them. It infuriates them that they can't get to us when we hold love. Yes, the body can suffer, but the soul will never be destroyed. So I love you guys so very much. Oh, have so much fun journeying tonight, opening your heart, being in your heart, and use discernment with everything in your heart. I love you guys so much. Have such a beautiful night.